Hey, welcome everyone. Uh, you know that feeling when you're sitting with someone and the conversation is fine? Everything seems normal on the surface, but there's this energy, like they want to say something, but they're not saying it. And you can feel it hanging in the air between you, that unspoken thing, that tension that's not quite uncomfortable, but definitely present. And you wonder if you're imagining it, or if they're really holding something back. Welcome back. It's Anna. And listen, if this reading found you today, I think there might be someone in your life or someone on the edges of your life who's been carrying feelings they haven't fully expressed. And something about that dynamic might be shifting. So here's what I want to explore with you: the energy around someone who's been reserved, someone who's been careful with their words, someone who's been keeping certain feelings close to their chest, and the possibility that those feelings might be moving toward expression, toward being spoken, toward finally being shared. Take what resonates here. This is just a reflection on patterns some people experience. You remain in control of your life and your responses always. This is simply an invitation to consider what you might already be sensing. Let me set a scene for you. Picture someone you know, maybe someone you talk to regularly, maybe someone you see occasionally, maybe even someone from your past who's resurfaced in your awareness lately. And when you think about this person, there's this quality to how they interact with you. They're warm but measured. They're present but guarded. They show interest but pull back before it goes too far. And you've noticed this pattern, haven't you? The way they lean in and then retreat. The way they seem like they're about to say something deeper and then shift to small talk. The way their eyes linger just a beat too long before they look away. I feel like some people hold back for all kinds of reasons. Fear of rejection, obviously. That's the big one. But also fear of changing the dynamic. Fear of losing what already exists between you. Fear of being too much or not enough. Fear of vulnerability. Fear of being seen that completely. And so they edit themselves. They choose safe topics. They keep things light. They maintain a comfortable distance, even when everything in them wants to close that gap. Hold on. Let me slow down here, because I want to acknowledge something right away. If you're hoping this is about a specific person, if you're sitting there thinking, please let this be about them, I see you. That hope is real. That desire for someone to finally express what you've been sensing, it's human. It's vulnerable. And there's nothing wrong with wanting that. But I also want to be honest with you. Hope can sometimes make us see what we want to see. It can make us interpret reserve as hidden feelings, when sometimes reserve is just reserve. So as we explore this energy, stay grounded in what's actually happening, not just what you wish were happening. Let me ask you something. Have you ever held back from expressing how you feel about someone? Have you ever caught yourself editing your words, softening your enthusiasm, downplaying your interest because you weren't sure how it would be received? Most people have been there. It's that strange dance we do, where we show just enough to keep connection alive, but not so much that we risk total rejection. We drop hints instead of being direct. We test the waters instead of diving in. We wait for signs that it's safe before we fully reveal ourselves. And that's what holding back looks like. It's not absence of feeling. It's feeling with a filter, feeling with a safety mechanism engaged. You know what I'm picking up on? There may be someone in your orbit who's been operating this way around you, being careful, being measured, and you might have accepted that as just their personality, just how they are. Reserved, private, not particularly expressive. But what if that's not the whole story? What if that reserve is specific to you? What if they're holding back specifically because of how they feel about you is less than #0? 5 hashes greater than not in spite of it. Let me sit with this for a moment, because I think this is where it gets interesting. Sometimes people are most guarded around the people they care about most. The stakes feel higher. The potential for hurt feels greater. So they protect themselves by creating distance, by staying surface level, by not letting you see the full depth of what they're experiencing. And from the outside, that can look like disinterest. It can look like they don't feel strongly about you, when actually the opposite might be true. They might be feeling so much that they don't trust themselves to express it without losing control. Let me paint you another picture. You're texting with this person and they respond, they engage, but there's this quality to their messages. They're friendly but brief. They answer your questions but don't really elaborate. They don't ask as many questions back as you might expect. And you might interpret that as them not being that interested. But what if they're sitting on the other side, drafting longer messages and deleting them? What if they're trying to find the right balance between showing interest and not showing too much interest? What if every message they send has been carefully considered, specifically because they care what you think? The energy of holding back can look a lot like the energy of not caring, and that's confusing. For both people, let's talk about what might shift that pattern. What might move someone from holding back to expressing, because that's really what this reading is exploring. The possibility that reserve might dissolve, that carefully maintained distance might close, that someone might finally say what they've been keeping quiet. And I can't tell you that's definitely going to happen. I can't predict someone else's choices, but I can reflect on the conditions that sometimes precede that kind of shift. Often it's exhaustion. Someone gets tired of holding back, tired of self-editing, tired of wondering what if, and that tiredness becomes stronger than the fear. So they take the risk, not because the fear went away, but because staying silent started feeling worse than the possibility of rejection. Sometimes it's a deadline, not a calendar deadline necessarily, but a sense that time is running out, that if they don't speak now, the moment will pass. You'll move on. The opportunity will close, and that urgency overrides the caution. Sometimes it's courage borrowed from somewhere, a conversation with a friend who encourages them, a moment of clarity after some self-reflection, a sign they interpret as permission to be honest, something external that gives them the push they couldn't give themselves. And sometimes, honestly, it's just reaching a breaking point where the feelings are so present, so persistent, that continuing to hide them feels impossible, like they're going to leak out anyway. So they might as well be intentional about it. Let me ask you something. Have you been picking up on subtle shifts in how someone interacts with you. Maybe they're initiating contact more often. Maybe their messages are slightly longer. Maybe they're asking more personal questions. Maybe they're finding excuses to be around you. Maybe their eyes are holding yours a little longer than they used to. These could be signs that someone's internal filter is weakening, that they're allowing more of their authentic feelings to show. Not a full confession yet, but movement in that direction, testing the waters, seeing how you respond to slightly more openness. Drop a comment if you've noticed any of these shifts lately, because I think when we're in it, we sometimes dismiss these signs as coincidence or wishful thinking, but patterns matter. Repeated behaviors tell a story. You know what else I'm sensing? The energy around this potential confession, if it happens. It might not be smooth or polished. It might not be the romantic movie version where someone delivers a perfectly articulated speech about their feelings. It might be awkward. It might be halting. They might stumble over their words. They might start and stop. They might say it in a way that's more vulnerable and messy than grand and sweeping. And that authenticity, that nervous honesty, that might be more meaningful than any rehearsed declaration because it shows they're actually risking something. They're stepping outside their comfort zone. They're choosing truth over self-protection. Let me slow down here because I want to talk about what this might bring up for you. If someone who's been reserved suddenly opens up to you, that creates a decision point. You have to respond. You have to decide what you feel. You have to choose whether to meet their vulnerability with your own or whether to step back, and that can be complicated, especially if you've been interpreting their reserve as disinterest, especially if you've started to move on, especially if you've built walls of your own to protect yourself from disappointment. Someone confessing feelings doesn't automatically mean everything falls into place. It means you both have to navigate new territory. It means things change. And change, even positive change, can feel destabilizing. Let me ask you another question. If someone who's been holding back suddenly told you how they really feel, how would that land for you? Would it feel like relief, like validation, like finally? Or would it feel like pressure, like disruption, like, wait, I wasn't expecting this now? Your honest answer to that question, that tells you something about where you are, about whether you're still open to this person or whether you've already closed that door in your heart. You know what's powerful about a confession from someone who's been holding back? It shows they've overcome their own resistance. They've chosen vulnerability over safety. They've decided that the possibility of connection, even with the risk of rejection, is worth more than the comfort of keeping quiet. And that kind of courage, that deserves to be honored. Even if your response isn't what they're hoping for, even if you can't reciprocate their feelings, the act of being honest, of showing up authentically, that has value in itself. Let me share something with you. Sometimes we wait for people to be perfect communicators, to express themselves clearly and confidently, to somehow know exactly how to articulate complex feelings. But most people aren't trained in emotional expression. Most people are figuring it out as they go, especially when the stakes feel high. So if someone stumbles through a confession, if their words aren't perfect, if they seem nervous or uncertain, try to hear what they're really saying. Try to receive the core message, even if the delivery is imperfect. Because what they're really saying is, I care about you enough to risk this. And that's significant. Let's sit with this for a moment. What if the holding back you've been experiencing from someone is less than #0? 5# greater than isn't about you not being enough? What if it's about them being scared? What if their reserve has been self-protection, not lack of interest? That reframe changes things. It shifts the story from they don't care to they care but they're afraid. And those are very different narratives. One closes doors, the other keeps possibilities open. Let me ask you something else. Have you been holding back too? Have you been waiting for them to make the first move? While they're waiting for you to make the first move? Have you both been locked in this pattern where you're both interested but both too afraid to be direct about it? Because that happens more often than people think. Two people circling each other, both feeling something, both holding back, both waiting for the other to give a clearer sign. And weeks or months pass and nothing progresses because neither is willing to risk being vulnerable first. If that's your situation, maybe the shift that's needed isn't them confessing to you. Maybe it's you being honest first. Maybe it's you creating the opening for honesty to flow both ways. You know what I'm picking up on? The energy around joy, around lightness, around the possibility of happiness. Because when someone finally says what they've been holding, when reserve dissolves into honesty, there can be this sense of relief for both people. The tension breaks, the wondering ends, the truth is out there. And even if it's scary, even if the outcome isn't certain, there's freedom in that. Freedom in no longer having to guess. Freedom in operating with clear information instead of assumptions. Let me paint you one more picture. Imagine you're having a normal conversation with this person. Maybe over coffee, maybe on a walk, maybe late at night when guards tend to drop, and the conversation takes a turn. It gets a little deeper, a little more vulnerable, and suddenly they're saying things they haven't said before. Maybe they're telling you how much your presence means to them. Maybe they're admitting they think about you more than they should. Maybe they're confessing they've been scared to say how they really feel. Maybe they're asking if you've felt it too, this thing between you that's been unspoken. And in that moment, you get to decide. You get to be honest too. Or you get to hold your cards close. Or you get to say, I need time to process this. There's no wrong response. Just your response based on what's true for you. Let me ask you one more thing, and this one's important. What would make you happy? Not what you think should make you happy, not what would make a good story, but what would actually create joy for you? Is it this person confessing their feelings is less than #0? 5# is greater than. Is it clarity in any direction? Is it permission to stop wondering and just move on? Is it mutual vulnerability where you both finally speak truth? Because happiness isn't just about getting what we think we want. Sometimes it's about getting clarity, about getting honesty, about getting to make real choices based on real information. Here's what I want you to remember. Someone else's confession, if it comes, doesn't obligate you to anything. You can be honored by it and not reciprocate. You can appreciate their courage and still say no. You can take time before responding. You can ask questions. You can be uncertain. Their vulnerability doesn't require you to match it immediately. It just requires you to be honest in your own time, in your own way, Take what resonates from this reading, leave what doesn't, and remember that you remain in control of your heart, of your responses, of what you choose to do with honesty when it's offered to you. Someone may be moving toward expressing feelings they've been holding back, or maybe they won't. Maybe the reserve will continue. Maybe you'll never know what wasn't said. But if confession does come, if honesty breaks through, meet it with your own honesty. That's all anyone can ask. Trust your inner knowing. Trust that you'll know how to respond when the moment comes. Trust that whatever unfolds, you can handle it with grace and authenticity. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying open to possibility. Thank you for being willing to consider what might be happening beneath the surface. You're exactly where you need to be in this space of not quite knowing. And that's okay. Clarity comes when it comes. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. And remember, you deserve people who can be honest about how they feel, even when it's scary, especially when it's scary. I don't sell futures, I build architects. Not predictions, just the naked truth for the hard ones. Stay magic, stay in the now.